Could you imagine if we just sat and stared at the screen?
Don't you have to go live on YouTube?
No. Automatically goes live.
Oh, okay. Well, what's up, everybody?
It's the beauty of Opus.
How's everybody doing?
Can y'all tell I've been crying? I didn't even check my face after that. I did not even check my face. Well, first of all, can everybody hear us loud and clear? All right. Oh, sweet Jesus. Let us know if the volume is okay, because again, we have to sit further back from the microphone so that we can both hope your day went well. It was going well.
It's been good.
Until everything that just happened.
Glad to be back, Charlie. Glad to be back.
Chandler, I'm in the same boat right now. I'm just going to state it up front. We're going to be talking spoilers. I should actually probably put there will be spoilers. There we go. I'm sorry, I'm so drained. Volume's good. All right, thank you. Thank you for letting us know. I just can't believe what we just watched. Honestly, if you're here, it's because we all just watched The Last of Us. Tom and I started it a little bit after 6. Is there a crying meme? Is there a meme for sadness? Is there a meme for utter? Yes, this is more like it. That's more in tune. Would you like to control the chat since you're closer to the mouse? Sure. I need Grogu.
Sure.
Hang on.
Sure. Sure. Yeah, so how many? We got 16 people in here right now. Assuming all 16 people have
emotional damage.
Either played the game and knows what happens in this episode, or just watched the episode and knows what happens for the first time.
Sweet Jesus. Emotional damage. Yeah, I can see you're emotionally exhausted. Guys, holy shnikes. Let's just get into it. Okay. So they've obviously been deviating from some things in this show. Biggest one of this episode, Sam is deaf. But I think that turned out to be way more heartbreaking in the end. I'm curious to hear what you think. Based on, I think that choice made it all the more sad not seeing them have the conversation verbally, but at the very end writing down. And when he would flip his notepad and you would just see, like, will you stay awake? I can't even re-talk about it. Obviously so there were different things. Obviously the whole Kathleen plot line, obviously the entire infestation and army of the dead there with the clickers and the freaking floater. How freaking Neil. 1 minute, I'm like, holy freaking smokes. I mean, I don't know about you or you guys, but seeing that bloater in action, I was just like, let's freaking go.
Yeah.
It was incredible.
Yeah, the bloater was awesome.
I was like cracking up with happiness. I was like so giddy. I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
It's just so, so good. And we don't ever see anything like what just happened in the show. The explosion, just the freaking absolute onslaught of infected that have been festering beneath the earth for decades. I don't think we've seen
well, that part in the game, the swarm does come.
That's true.
The bloater, like the whole sniper in the nest, and then Joel goes and fishes them out, and then he's sniping away the infected that are. Well, first it's humans, right?
Yeah.
Well, first it's the humans, and then it's infected. So that piece actually stayed pretty true. They didn't come from a pit of the earth and come from below.
A literal
with
sinkhole.
The bloater. But
yeah.
That was
anyway, there were already
awesome.
Some differences going on, so I began to wonder naively, like, I wonder if they're going to change Sam and Henry's fate, but the part of the rational part of me is like, but it's so heartbreaking and crushing, in the game. Like, how can they not? There's no way that they can make it more tragic. Like, it's one of the saddest, most shocking parts of the whole storyline. So, as it dawned on me that it was happening, the twist, that was an even sadder twist, though. I did actually really, at first I was like, no, part of the whole shock is that nobody knows.
Yeah.
And then they wake up in the morning and that's what happens. But I like what it did for Ellie's arc because.
Yeah, I mean that's the whole reason they changed it.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's worth the sacrifice of the moment of it being a complete surprise.
You can like lean in a little bit more or scooch over a little bit. You're like right on the cusp of the.
Well, that's because of your position.
You can scooch over. Ow!
Hey, everybody. So they all died. They were toast. Complete toast.
Why are you saying it like that?
What am I saying? Like what? Toast. Fried. It's tragic. It's real tragic. Is this ASMR now?
Is this ASMR? Like this, I think we all need some after that episode.
Ugh. Is this good enough?
Yes.
Am I over enough? Okay.
Yes, there you go. See, you're not leaning right on the very edge.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Thank you, Charlie. Thank you. I'm glad someone appreciates the stupidity.
Highlight some comments here. I put you in charge of the comments for a reason.
Well, I know.
Basically, I broke down. As soon as I realized that it was happening, there have been like moving, tragic moments of this show. I think I had like one like single tear falling down my face in episode 1 after Sarah's death. But this I just lost it. I almost like, I think this is a scenario where it's worse having played the game, because knowing what was happening made me more scared, like more just like I'm gonna throw up because I know it's about to happen and I don't want to watch it play out live action, especially because Sam in this, to me, I think he's younger, right? Like he's 8. In the game, I think he's closer to Ellie's age, is he not?
He's definitely still younger.
But I don't think he's 8 in the game.
I don't know. But I don't know. I think that I'm finding myself harping on the changes. And so I think, jealous of anyone who hasn't played the game is watching the show.
Really?
Because I find myself obsessing over the differences. And, it's further diverging. Like the first episode was pretty much like near identical.
Yeah.
The big difference in the first episode was Bill's death, right? Like in the game, Tess and Joel go on a manhunt to kill Bill, and then they kill him.
Yeah.
Versus in the first episode, they find Bill dead because Marlene already killed him. But that was like the biggest difference.
Is it Bill? I thought his name is.
Oh, not Bill.
I forget his name. Robert.
Yes. Robert. Yes.
Not Bill.
Yes, not Bill. Not Bill.
But that was the other big change.
Yeah.
Episode 3.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's I'm finding it's I wish I didn't play the game before seeing the show. That's what I'm currently feeling. But I think, at least in this case, like if you watch the post preview thing, the explanation of why they made the death change was they wanted to try and make Sam more reliant on Henry.
Yeah.
Like Henry's the only person who can take care of Sam because Henry knows sign. He knows how to sign. So the whole point was, how can we make Sam more reliant on Henry than it's already depicted in the game, other than just him being his brother? It's, he's deaf, So he can only sign, and they have to stick together if they're going to survive. Because if without Henry, I mean, what's he going to do? He can't do anything.
Well, there's also the added element of like, as they're trying to escape the city, or I'm sure whatever, ever since the infections and started, he's had to be pretty much the ears as well for Sam, and has to like, you know, in a world where when you're trying to dodge infected and half of the warning is you can hear them coming a mile away, like he really has to be alert for that purpose as well, and kind of spare the details. I feel like for the sake of his brother, but I mean, I thought it ended up being way more heartbreaking seeing them have that conversation through pen and paper, um, because it makes it more sad because you really we can only imagine what's going on in his mind. Like when an actor speaks, you hear their, oh my god, what's the word? You have a little sense of their emotion, how they're feeling, what the thank you, that would have blown out people's eardrums.
Had to mute for the sneeze.
What is the word I'm looking for? It's not going to come to my brain because my brain is absolutely just short-circuiting after that. I can't even fully function. I'm like, why did I sign up to do a stream? I should have known. I was like, oh, this episode's going to be so lit. Let's go live. Let's talk about it. And instead, here I am. Not being able to compute anything. What was I going to say? Yeah. But yeah, so when you hear people speak, you get a better sense of, you can hear fear, sadness, or anger. There's underlying hints in people's voices. Even if they're trying to mask something, you can still hear, a semblance of how they're feeling. Versus for Sam in this case, just seeing him write, you can only even we are left to our imagination. The fear that he's dealing with, and I think it makes it even more sad, frankly, like that he did probably, spend that night sitting awake thinking that Ellie gave him medicine and that he was going to be okay. Like the change they made in that regard makes it all the more tragic. And for Ellie too, it was a lose-lose situation for both of them. Piercing like light. What's up? You're not highlighting any comments. Highlight some comments.
What? I'm.
See, you're reading them. Just highlight them as you read. Highlight them as you read. I can't. Tom's closer to the mouse, so I'm putting him in charge. I don't feel like it. I'm holding Grogu. Okay. Yeah, we needed baby Grogu for emotional support.
This is an interesting point. When Sam turned, he was a deaf, so he was a different type of infected. That's why after he changed, he was just looking out the window.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that is interesting.
That's true, because he only freaks out when Ellie taps him and activates him on the shoulder. Good point, Evie.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That is a really good point.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I think that, for me, I'm glad you just appreciated it for what it was in real time, and it didn't impact you. But like for me, it's going to take the thought and the discussion that we're having here and the analysis to figure out why it's worth making the change. And I think there's a lot of really good points. I think in the moment, the fact that he showed the bite mark, really messed with me. I was very disappointed because I think what makes the part in the game so shocking the first time you play it is that you don't know.
Yeah.
Well, actually, that's not true.
He
That's not
shows
true
it to
because he
us,
shows
but
it to
you
the
know
camera.
that nobody else knows.
Yeah,
Yes.
he does.
Audience secret.
That is true. That is completely true. So that actually helps make this less of a big jump because I totally forgot about that. He does show the audience, so you know that he's infected.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my.
But then you're
like,
just
oh my
waiting
God.
for the shock in the
Yeah.
morning when everybody else learns.
Yeah.
But in that regard, I think what's a sadder... It's freaking sad either way. Like, Neil Druckmann, like, are you okay? How did you conjure up all of this? Like, I'm serious, Neil. As if he's watching this. Neil! Like, are you good? Because he has managed to take some of the saddest character deaths in his own franchise and escalate them and make them even worse. Tess, for example, sweet lord, that they turned that into the most grotesque thing I've ever seen. Like, holy smokes, almost like did her dirty. It's like, dang, that's savage, making her death even more horrific than it already is. And now in the case of Sam, it's like you watch the game and yes, you get that insight and that secret as the audience thinking, oh no, so you feel for him. And in the game, you're like, oh my God, this poor kid is doing this all alone and he's probably like freaking out on the inside right now and has nobody to confide in. And he ends up, he dies alone before he turns essentially and loses his mind. That's freaking sad AF to begin with. But then Neil's like, how can we dial this a little bit more? So I don't know what you guys feel, but he takes that and instead flips it and says, why don't we give him some hope? Why don't we have him share that he's afraid, confide in Ellie, and give him the hope that, oh my God, her blood is medicine. He might be fine. So that he sits there all night thinking that he's going to get better. And then loses his mind. Like, what's worse? I think giving him that little bone of hope. And Ellie, too. That's the thing. No. It would be one thing if it was just, it impacts his character, which would be freaking sad enough. Like, you could call it. You could end it there. But it was a huge, pivotal transformation for Ellie, who throughout this whole show has been pretty, like, lighthearted, energetic. She has a fun outlook, not fun necessarily, but she has a 14-year-old outlook on things, and she's very spunky, witty. She's trying to enjoy. She finds joy in situations if it's just her and Joel, like she's able to have that enthusiasm and not, I don't want to say cheer necessarily, but similar to Ellie in the game. Like, she's just a regular 14-year-old having fun. And you can see a clear shift in her demeanor after that happens. No. She's pissed. She's like, I'm sick of this. So that's why I think it was successful. Because I was the same way. As soon as he pulled up his pant leg, I was like, no! We're supposed to have that moment where we realize it, but nobody else does. But I think it worked.
Yeah, well, the fact that Ellie is trying to, use her immunity to help someone directly is certainly going to pay off in the long run for how the story goes from here.
Well, especially because, we know, spoilers, like, what eventually happens. Like, this becomes her life goal to want to save people. And so if you know what happens down the line, it makes it even more sad because this clearly has left an impact on her. So yeah.
Yeah. Charlie, couldn't agree more. The acting is really, really good.
Yeah.
It's really good.
And one of the highlights is that a lot of these performances are just 1 episode or 2 episode appearances. Yep. Anna Torv, first 2 episodes, had a little bit of a cameo in episode 3. Bill and Frank, that was their one and only episode, and they freaking are one of the highlights of the show. Literally, award-winning performance in just 1 episode. Here now with Sam and Henry, like, that's, that's really impressive to me that you can make these art. Because that was another thing that I was curious about. Like, I think in regards to gameplay, you're with Sam and Henry for more than like an hour's worth of time of gameplay. Like you're with them for
Yeah, it's
a
wild.
bit.
Yeah.
So it's a different scenario. Like I was going into this wondering like how affected am I really even going to be if the events do end up being the same as they are in the game, because we're only seeing these characters for like, an hour's worth of time, one episode. Am I going to feel attached and feel emotionally damaged at the end, considering in the game you're with them for longer? But holy shnikes, as soon as it hit, it hit. I was if I was watching alone, let's just say the floodgates would have opened.
I already did open.
I was yeah.
The sound stopped and the credits rolling, and I just hear.
No, but like I would have been absolutely like bawling, sobbing, like verbally losing it. But for the sake of you're sitting right there watching with me, I didn't want to ruin it for you too. So I'm sitting there like just not. Let's just say it impacted me more than I even thought it would, which is impressive. It's been impressive with all these characters so far. That's what's amazing about this show. Like I said, how the frick is it possible that Neil can take what I would deem to already be a perfect creation and expand upon it and enhance it and make it sadder and worse where it hits, like worse in the heart, like.
Yeah, this is a good point. Vader, brilliant comment. Ellie doesn't know better. She assumed she is the cure just on her own, and the blood is a pure form of it. But yeah, she's naive and doesn't know that it's going to have to be altered, right? It's not just simple as blood.
I'm curious because Marlene surely gave her the rundown and was like, yeah, we have to go to a lab to extract your, whatever it is.
Why would she give Ellie the rundown?
You think she's going to send her there and not give her heads up and be like, she's not going to tell her, hey, you need to die in order for us to create a vaccine. But I'm sure she mentioned, yeah, there's a laboratory where people will then make a vaccine. I'm sure, you know.
And Marlene's not going to say, oh, yeah, that means they're probably going to have to kill you.
I just said that. She didn't. I'm sure she didn't say that.
So that's why Ellie thinks it's just blood.
But Ellie,
blood is good
Ellie
enough.
knows no, because why wouldn't she have thought to do that during Tessa's death?
She didn't have time.
I was thinking, maybe. They didn't know that at the time. She had a pretty split-second reaction here with Sam. But, Tessa reveals her bite, and then 2 minutes later is when all the infected start coming after them. I don't know. I'm curious to hear what other people think, because my immediate instinct was, I don't think Ellie, like, is she that naive, or was that her last-ditch effort to try to bring him some comfort? Because I think she's smarter than that. She knows that she's going to a laboratory for this purpose. That was my impression. Like, this is her trying to comfort him.
Not that she actually thought she could.
I mean, I don't know. It's open to interpretation.
Yeah.
But it hurt. Yeah. I think it hurts a little bit more if Vader's point is actually, the case. Like, if she actually did think that she could cure him like that, and then obviously it fails, that takes a huge toll on her. Yeah. That's a big hit.
Yeah, if you watch the end of the episode, like, breakdown from the creators, one of the main reasons they wanted to do that was to show that, her mission is to try and use her gift that she's been given to try and save people. So it seems like, based off of their conversation, that the intent was for her to actually try and save someone, and then she sees that it doesn't work.
Yeah.
At least based on what the creators were saying. All right. Jay, yes, this is a Death Trooper.
That's a Star Wars Celebration tee,
yes.
right?
Yes.
Preston, what's up? Yes, the Super Bowl. I promise I'll be in a much more cheerful mood when that happens, guys.
Yeah. Thank you, Nick. Appreciate it.
Dang, Tom's shirt is getting the love.
Yes, absolutely, Charlie. Absolutely.
You're... Thank you, Preston. Sorry. Like, I literally... That's what I looked like at the end of this episode. And so I was like, rather than posting a selfie of me crying to plug the stream, I was like, let me just think on my feet and find something to express that real quick. Because yeah, we literally finished watching the episode and then it was already like 7:35 and we had scheduled the stream originally for like 7:45, so I had to like sprint to get everything ready, so I didn't have time. That was all I could think of.
So Nick, when you say she, who's she in the sentence? I know she still hasn't grasped the severity and sacrifice Ellie had to make.
I think Ellie is she. She doesn't know yet of what it's going to cost. Same in the game. Yeah. She doesn't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Well, no one knows. No one knows until they get there.
Well, Marlene
Even knows. Marlene doesn't know until...
You don't think?
The doctor gives the rundown based on... Because they examine Ellie, and then after Ellie's already under... Actually. After she's already under, then they say, oh, this is how it is. It's connected
to her brain, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So they'll have to go in and rip the immunity growth off her brain. Lord Fowl. I've never seen a bad thing about the show so far. And by the way, Ellie doesn't know exactly what they're going to do when they get to the lab. Yeah.
No, I never. That's what I'm saying. You made everyone think that I don't know what I'm talking about.
What?
I know that Ellie has no knowledge, but she obviously is aware that they have to go to a laboratory, which would imply she's not capable of just, just dripping her blood into other people. I don't know. But she obviously knows that there has to be a third party, something, doctors, scientists in the mix to help make this vaccine happen.
Yeah, well, yeah, she says in episode 1.
Yes.
Marlene said there's a lab out west or something.
Yes, that's all I'm saying. She's aware of those circumstances alone, and that I'm sure other measures would need to be taken scientifically to just take her blood or whatever it is to create a cure.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, Nick was talking about
Yes.
Ellie, yeah. Okay.
Oh, please give us links so I can get the notification bell. Oh, I have to wait. What?
Yeah, not sure.
I think that's a YouTube thing. Sometimes, because the same thing happens to like my mom. She has the bell. I'm pretty sure.
Well, there's multiple settings of bell. If you click the bell, there's multiple. There's like all notifications. There's subset of notifications.
Oh, that's so you can customize it.
And then you also have to go into your phone and like enable.
Oh, that's right.
All
push
notifications on your phone. So you need like the max settings on the bell on YouTube, and then you need the notification settings on your phone as well. And there's a combination of that where you don't get everything.
They make you jump through hoops here. Oh, Charlie, thank you for all the emoji love.
Nick, you have a dog named Ellie?
Oh, that's cute. Hey, I mean, at least nothing bad happens to Ellie.
Why are you... Well, we said spoilers. So.
Yeah.
A lot of bad things happen to Ellie.
Okay, well...
A lot of bad things.
Not compared to a lot of the people in this show / game. Let's be real.
That's true.
But no, she doesn't make it out unscathed. Yeah. Please, they already announced that there's going to be a season 2, so that inherently implies that some people make it out of this season, and there's been discourse all over the place. I gotta say, The Last of Us fandom, at least the gaming community, has not been great about withholding spoilers. People just talk about it willy-nilly. I guess it's like a different scenario, because it's like, this game's been out for like 10 plus years. Yeah,
literally 10 years. It came out in 2013.
Yeah,
I think it's when the first game came out. So
maybe it's like different. Also, like versus, but I don't know. I feel like book readers, like for stuff like Lord of the Rings. Well, actually, no. We learned that the Game of Thrones fandom also spoils everything. I bought the book solely because I've been just majorly spoiled at this point. But I feel like, especially The Last of Us fans, have been extremely, spilling lots of beans all over the place on Twitter, at least. So I feel like it's common knowledge at this point that Ellie will be in season 2.
Yeah, but all the major plot points so far have been slightly altered. Right? They've all been slightly altered. So even if something was going to be spoiled, the way that it happens in the game has not proven to be exactly how it happens
True.
in the show. I mean, the major thing, first episode, right out of the gate, Sarah's death scene, essentially the same.
Literally almost like frame for frame.
I think that's probably the most similar one. Tessa's is different circumstances. She still sacrifices herself, but it's not Fedra. It's the infected horde, and then she has the make-out scene.
Oh, God.
Then, obviously, Bill and Frank, totally different, completely different. It's still, the suicide theme is still there, but it's still different. And then, obviously, Sam and Henry, very similar circumstances, but there's added layers to it that do differentiate it from the game. So, after watching like the end of episode shows, like they'd go over like the reasons for the differences between the game and the show. And so far, they've had specific explanations for the differences. And so even if you do see something online going forward for what happens in the story, I think there's a chance that you're not going to get the whole story just from people who play the game.
Yeah.
So
I know some reactors have been spoiling some things from the first game. Yeah, let's be real. I probably would as well. I at least always try to make an effort as much as possible, because I know how much you get eviscerated on YouTube if you engage in spoiler conversations and don't disclaim it. So I always try to put it in the thumbnail. I put it up here, we will be talking spoilers. I try to take every measure possible to warn people.
Yeah, because it sucks. Getting spoiled sucks.
Yeah, it's awful.
It's awful. Yeah, it sucks.
It's awful.
It sucks. Especially for something of the caliber of the episode tonight. Like, for anyone who had not played the game and came into this episode totally unbeknownst,
no knowledge, sweet
to
Jesus.
what happens. I mean, I just remember the first time I ever played the first game, and that happened in the game, and you're just completely just awestruck in the chair on the couch when you're playing that game, when you're playing that scene. It is dark. It's incredibly dark, and it hits deep. It hits real deep. It's shell shock. And I remember the first time that I was playing it. I remember the first time that you played it.
Yeah, you were probably waiting to see me get to that segment when I was playing it. Yeah. And I remember you looked at me and you were like, "Is that not one of the saddest things you've ever seen?" I swear I remember the exact moment I looked at you. I was like, "I can't believe you made me play this." And you're like, "Yep." Yeah.
So I would be very curious to see if there's any type of reactions out there for someone who's experiencing that moment. Yeah, never played the game.
Yeah.
Who's seen it for the first time. So if anybody knows of anybody anyone's been watching someone react to the show, if they know there's someone who's reacting to the show who hasn't played the game, please let us know, because I think we definitely want to see the reaction to this scene in particular.
Oh, God. Yeah, I guess we'll start seeing after tonight. The saddest part is now we have to wait. That was so crushing when it was next episode, Sunday, February 19th. It's that's so far away. That is so far away, unfortunately. I mean, in terms of episodes, this might be, here I am saying that I absolutely bawled my eyes out and I was crying, but this might be one of my favorite episodes of the whole show so far. Despite the changes and everything, I thought every change they made was for the better and more intense. And
yeah, well, they pretty much condensed the timeline.
Yeah,
because in the game, it's you go to Pittsburgh, then they escape Pittsburgh, then they go in the sewer, then they escape the sewer, and then they get to the town, and then they get ambushed.
Yeah,
and then the end. But this, they kind of crunched it all together.
Yeah, realistically,
and added a blur.
We only have 4 episodes left after this. So we're already over halfway.
Yeah.
There's only 4 left.
Yeah, Charlie's just a tad dark. A wee bit dark. Wee bit dark.
What's dark? This show?
That episode.
Yeah.
That ending.
Yep.
Yeah. I'd love to see Palpatine get infected. Already looks like he's
that
infected.
would be something. Honestly.
He does. Palpatine does give off some serious clicker.
I will say something about the show that has been interesting that I don't really necessarily think was an element of the game, just solely because I think for like development purposes, not that all the clickers are infected in the game are identical, you know, they're all a different degree of infected or, you know, have different details or whatnot about them. But I think I can safely say we don't see a child clicker in the game.
I don't think we do. I think you're right.
Yeah.
I don't think we do.
It's all pretty much like adults.
Yeah.
Similar, you know, frame or whatever. Like, to see that little girl clicker was so effing wild, which I really liked that because it's bringing, you know, I went into this show, I keep saying this, but my biggest thing was how are they gonna just scare me, because the game itself is so effing scary. It's so horrifying playing as it. You know, what elements are they gonna bring? Obviously, live action makes a difference, you know, versus the animation of the game, but like the game itself is very realistic, and you don't care if it's live action or animated if you're playing through it. You're just when you're facing it first person, it's scary no matter what. So the fact that I like that they are adding new things like that, like a child infected doing acrobatics to get into the car. It was like mortifying. I low-key had like flashbacks because it reminds me of like Game of Thrones spoiler here, Lyanna Mormont and her fate in you know, Game of Thrones. It was funny seeing Bella Ramsey in another situation with like this weird, you know, monster creature again. I was like, what am I having deja vu?
What? Oh, from the Night Watch, or
yeah, I'm not gonna spoil it.
Yeah.
I mean,
spoil it.
Most people up here have probably watched Game of Thrones.
No. Well, you don't really need to watch. Even if you're watching, you can't really see.
So, true, that episode's very dark.
Yeah, it's pretty dark.
Visually, not
but
metaphorically. Hey, you leave the Emperor out of it. Oh my god.
So Charlie knows someone.
Holy smokes. Imagine having your kid play the game. Being like, listen, you're gonna play this and you're gonna have heartbreak like I had heartbreak taking his son through the game. But he's a teenager. Okay. So it's priceless. I can link his channel. They just got done with the episode before this one. Oh my god, please do. I want to see that.
Yeah, that would be great. Definitely curious to see how people are responding to this ending in particular. Cynic, you haven't played the game, I take it? But have you started to watch the cutscenes?
There's got to be a compilation.
Yeah,
right?
They're out there.
Yeah,
there's compilations of first game and second game, just all the cutscenes all the way through.
Yeah. It's got to be interesting, though, because there's a lot of... Does that include... I imagine no, because a lot of time, you know, when the characters are just walking, you know, going to and from A to B, you know, in the game, they have really important dialogue still that's not cutscene format, but I feel like there's a lot of brief conversations that happen during just transportation if the characters are walking someplace in the game.
Especially in the second game.
Yeah.
I think in the second game it's a lot more prevalent.
There is. So I wonder what that's like. But yeah.
No. Yeah, Nick, they exist. They're out there.
Dang.
You just grind through them. No.
But yeah. Sorry for the lack of energy, folks. But really, after I sat there and watched that episode, I was like, sweet Lord.
I'm surprised that you've kept it pretty together.
Well,
because the episode ended, and I was like, "We're really streaming in like 15 minutes."
yeah. Well, I literally got up.
Is not in streaming.
Episode went to credits. I immediately started sobbing. I got up off the couch and I just came in here to tidy up, and I was like plugging everything in, making a thumbnail in Photoshop, typing in the description, Neil Druckmann. Neil, I can't wait. I can't wait to go on Twitter and see what people are saying after this episode. Oh, I know. I'm gonna tweet now. I have a perfect tweet.
You're gonna tweet?
Oh. Is this insensitive? Wait, I'm gonna run it by you.
Yeah. Okay, Nick. So you're caught up with the whole premise then. You know the whole premise. And the part 1 ending. Yeah. The changes that they made to the end of this episode, I mean, are direct tie-ins and throughputs to how the season ends. They are, they're built in a way to enhance and slightly foreshadow the ending. And when you think about it from that perspective, they sacrifice the shock value of it that's in the game, but it's for the benefit of the long-term storyline and how the plot ends up wrapping up.
I'm just gonna tweet that. Hashtag The Last of Us episode 5. Neil Druckmann.
Just at Neil and at
you will
Pedro.
Be paying for my therapy bill.
Pedro is super active on Twitter. He'll respond. He'll respond to it.
Sorry, everybody. Live tweeting right now. That was episode 5, right?
Yes. Nick, so you just haven't watched the entire journey. Okay. Got it. So you know the main plot threads, but just haven't seen the whole thing. Okay. Got it. Chandler. Me, how many infected do you want? HBO, yes. Yeah, that's factual. That's so true for this past episode. I mean, because in the game, like it's swarm, right? After Joel gets up in the tower and they're coming towards him and they kill off the soldiers. I mean, it's a swarm of infected, but I mean, in the show, the idea that the truck causes a sinkhole and then they just flood from the underground, the depths of the sewer. I guess they cleared out one sewer and forgot about the other. Or they just, by clear out, they just corral them into one spot. But it's either they just cleared out one and totally missed another one, which is probably possible.
Preston will never let this go. Sorry. That's funny, Chandler. That's funny. He is on fire this year, literally living the dream.
Yeah, Pedro is the first half of this year is
Pedro Pascal.
Pedro. No.
I wonder what it's like to just be him right now, to have that power. But also just not even just now, but like even during his Game of Thrones days, like Oberyn Martell, one of the most beloved characters on Game of Thrones. Like he's just a badass no matter what he does. I need to go back. I didn't watch this whole segment about how they had to literally hire so many extras or whatever they were talking about to form the army there and have like stunt coordination or whatever. So I need to go back and rewatch that. The makeup department, literally freaking... I'm very curious. The bloater, did they explain how they made that at all? Because it looked partial like animatronic, partial CGI. Did they go into that?
I think the bloater was all VFX.
Really?
Yeah, because they showed it was a combo of VFX and practical people. Because they had shots of like a swarm of actual humans coming out of the pit, and they had shots where it's just VFX, no human coming out of the pit, and them getting certain camera angles, and there was no confirmation that the bloater was not all VFX, but based on the shots they were showing, it looks like it was, but it looked fine, right? I mean, I think the
oh my god, it looked amazing.
Particularly the sound design around the bloater was so much better than the game. I mean, they took the sound of the bloater and made it so much more intimidating.
Simply thank you for live responding to my tweet. Thank you. I appreciate that. Literally, there's nothing scarier than that brief moment after you tweet, that purgatory between when you get your first like, of being like, oh sweet God, is anybody gonna actually like this? That's why I'm so inactive on Twitter. I should be more active on there, like especially in the Star Wars fandom. Like Star Wars Twitter, if you're on the right corner of it, people are so engaging on there and like to just everyone, there's huge content creators who don't even have YouTubes that are just like Star Wars Twitter creators, like, so I need to just get over that fear and be more active.
Yeah.
So that's my effort. Yeah. Simply posting one GIF.
Nick says, no, you're doing good being inactive there.
Oh my God, wait, yeah. Because I've definitely spoken about Twitter before, I think in members only streams, and Nick has been like, get off that godforsaken platform. That's true. It's kind of a toss-up these days of, do I really want to be supporting this platform? But it's a whole other enchilada.
Yeah. Charlie, are you, do you have a meet and greet with Tala? What's her name?
Indira Varma?
Yes, Indira Varma. Yeah.
She's amazing. Yeah. That's right. She's added to the guest list. Actually, I'm honestly the thing I'm saltiest about, and this they even announced, I think Hayden Christensen is going to be there.
Yep.
What I'm most salty about though is Mads Mikkelsen. I want to meet him so bad. Galen Erso, yeah. What a freaking goated lineup! But as soon as they dropped him, I was like, no. I would immediately y'all know I love Hayden, but let's be real. If he even does meet and greets, he didn't even do one, I don't think, at Celebration when you went, right? Because that's how popular he is. He would just break the Celebration ticketing website if they even had a meet and greet with him, because everyone and their mother would just sign up for it and it would be sold out within 2 minutes. Ewan McGregor's sold out in 3 minutes. Like, the site would crash. So I don't even know if Hayden Christensen is slated to have a meet and greet, but even if he was, I would still first sign up for Mads Mikkelsen.
He is this time. He didn't.
You know what? It's probably because it's a smaller venue. It's going to be a way smaller crowd, so it probably actually won't be so chaotic. That's probably why. That would be my guess. But even still, it's going to sell out instantaneously. So y'all know I love Hayden, but I would probably sooner sign up to meet Galen Erso, knowing that I'd have a chance, to meet him.
If you go right when it drops, then you're gonna meet Hayden.
I did this. Okay, I went right as it dropped when I first bought the tickets that I didn't even end up getting to use, and I still was like, "You are number 4,000 in the queue." I was like, I clicked as soon as there's thousands of people. I clicked right the second my clock turned 9 a.m. I remember it. I still was like way in the back of the queue. I was like, how is this happening? So I don't trust it.
Yeah, Lord Fowl. Episode 2, is really the first time that you are experiencing the threat of the infected, right? Especially in the show when they're in the museum and it's the 2 clickers walking around. But yeah, the bloater takes it to a whole nother level. And the way that they introduced it is awesome.
Oh, by having that ground.
By having the sinkhole.
Yeah.
And they allude to I love how they did it, where they were like, they were so concerned about going underground and going in the tunnels. And it's like, oh, everybody thinks there's infected in the tunnels. Everybody's afraid of the tunnels because they think there's infected. And then he gets word that it's clear. And you're like, oh, well, there's no way it's going to actually be clear. And then they make it all the way through. And you're like, it was actually clear.
It's true.
And then it's like, psych, look at the other tunnel. And then the sinkhole and the truck just unleashes. So good.
I liked how they used the truck, kind of like the explosion there. Because originally I was like, well, hold on. They saw the ground shaking over like all the way in the city. So you're telling me they all traveled to like this neighborhood over here? But I liked how they kind of used the explosion as like it must have woken them or something.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? Yeah. Oh, I originally, now that you're talking about it, that was the like kind of a cliffhanger in episode 4 where that guy, what's his name? Voices. voice actor for Tommy in the original games, the long white-haired dude. He shows it's Kathleen, and she kind of just like covers the rug over it and is just like, we have more important things to do. And he's like, you serious? He's like, I really think we should address this. And she's like, nah, at the time. So I really actually like felt bad for her in this episode when she gets absolutely annihilated by that child acrobatic infected. I was like, dang, that's a bad way to go out. Yeah. But then now that you're saying it, I'm like, no, she asked for this. You know what? And he even gave her the chance again in this episode. He was like, he's loyal to her, obviously. He was like, we're with you, but I think he would have argued we have other priorities too. Like, we're using all of our resources here to hunt down one man when there's a freaking bloater about to explode in the ground a mile away. Like, so she kind of brought that upon herself. Now that I'm thinking about it, I originally thought like, oh, that's savage, but by not taking care of it, she made her bed.
Yeah.
What did you think of her this episode?
Well, I'm glad that they explain the story, right? Like, I like how they kind of, because in the last episode, you kind of just get hit with, oh, these people are now in control, which is slightly different from the game. It's like you don't really get any backstory on the raiders, the ambushers in Pittsburgh, right? Like, there's no real backstory. You don't really know why
their motivations are. Yeah,
it's just like, oh, these people, these random gang just took over Pittsburgh and is now occupying it and killing anyone who enters the city. So I don't really get any like backstory, which is like, the game pretty much primarily focuses it on Joel and Ellie's perspective and no one else's.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, this show is giving you the perspective from other people, like Bill and Frank. You don't get that perspective other than what Joel and Ellie see.
Yeah.
In the show, you get their point of view for an episode. Then now this, you kind of get the backstory of the resistance group and everything they did, and like they give you some backstory there. They flesh out that perspective. So which is also different from the game. But I do like how in this episode they kind of gave you the full picture, because at the end of the last one, you're kind of like, well, they like kind of introduced the people and you didn't really give any hints at what the motivation was. Like, you didn't really know that, it was purely in retaliation to Fedra. You didn't know anything about her brother and that Henry was responsible for her brother's death. Like, you just knew she was obsessed with Henry and she's willing to kill anybody to get to Henry, but you don't really know why in the last episode. So now they explain that.
Yeah.
Which was definitely
I like the way that they like unraveled that story, because the first 5 seconds of meeting Kathleen, she's interrogating the doctor who, as we eventually learn, helped smuggle Sam and Henry to that the safe house.
That was the same guy.
Yeah. Which is why she was, when the other prisoners were like, he's with Abelstein, I think that was his name. She was like, oh my God, like she had that visceral reaction, like he's a traitor too. But I like the first 5 minutes of her interrogation with him, she's like, did Fedra show the same, mercy to my brother when they were beating him to death in this cell? And you're like, what relevance does this have? Like, not that it's not sad, but I was like, this is different. Like, this isn't a story from the game. Yeah. Like, I'm curious how important this is, or like, and then when you hear, Henry telling the story of it, all starts to make sense, and you're like, I see why she's like on this tirade here. And I like that. Is she a villain per se? Even Henry himself was like, I'm a bad guy because I did a bad guy thing, right? That's how people will see me. But he had obviously, good intentions for himself, and that's the type of world everyone's living in here. You have to really just like, you're on your own. Oh God, sorry. I cracked my neck in case y'all couldn't hear, although maybe you did. But
sure.
So I like that element of this show here. Like, it's just a dog-eat-dog world, and they're making it clear that everyone's acting. Even Joel and Tess. Tess got straight up face off with Ellie and said, we're not good. Literally, like, you shouldn't even trust us. We're not good people. Like, gave it to her straight up, telling a 14-year-old child who's relying on these two that they are bad people and they've done horrible things. Nobody in this game is innocent or scot-free, which I like that they're exploring, in the show too. Like, are people bad? Because in, the opening segment, which was wild this episode, the sequence of them essentially torturing and overtaking Fedra and murdering all of them, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
It's like, we know Fedra's not popular, but holy smokes, like, what spawned this? From that perspective, you're like, oh my god, this is wild. This is horrific. But then when you learn, oh yeah, Fedra mercilessly abused, tortured, murdered, executed, the civilians of Kansas City for 20 years, you're like, well, makes sense,
Yeah. Well, you see that even in the Boston QZ, like in episode 1, like they're hanging people in the street, right? Like, you see that they are ruthless. They're not taking any chances.
But it was small, but did you catch it? It was really brief in the dialogue between Joel and Henry when Joel's like, what happened here? He mentioned, like, oh yeah, everyone, I've heard about Kansas City QZ. Like, they're notorious. Joel made, like, there was
Joel
one line.
Knew about Kansas City QZ?
He had, like, one line who was like, I've heard how awful they were, or something like that. So it must have been well known that they were, like, especially shitty, for lack of a better word. Sorry, I've been cursing in this stream, but let's be real. If you're watching The Last of Us, nothing I've said you haven't heard since watching that show.
No.
But yes, sorry if this has been incoherent, everybody. Again, my brain is kind of just, I'm stuck in I'm like, do I want to rewatch that episode, or do I, like, it was so good. It's been one of my favorite episodes of this show so far, but I don't want to relive that pain. I do want to go watch. I gotta watch the after the episode interviews and stuff like that. But yeah, sorry for my scattered brain and my not necessarily. I don't even know if I formed fully complete sentences in this stream, but I'm just so emotionally that was naive of me. Remember, we were streaming on Wednesday and I was like, oh my god, this will work out perfectly because I'm going to stream on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and Friday's going to be the Last of Us episode, so we'll do a stream afterwards. I was like, this is great. Little did I know. Why did I not realize at the time that this would have been the outcome? I don't know. I don't know. But anyway.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for joining us so late here. We are going to go live. Say it again. Right. Emotional damage. Oh, right, Lord Fowl. Right. For real, yeah, they definitely made a point to emphasize that they got what they deserved, maybe. But thank you guys for joining us. Sorry, I literally just, my brain is, we're gonna stream tomorrow. I haven't decided what time, maybe earlier, but also, I said that last time, but like our Saturday night stream last weekend, it was popping off. There was like 60 people, which isn't like much. It is much. That's actually a lot for us. More than I was expecting. I thought there were gonna be 3 of us there hanging on a Saturday. So I don't know. I'm 100% going to stream early on Sunday. It's going to be pre-Super Bowl. So maybe Sunday will be like our early stream of the weekend. I don't know. I'll let you guys know. But thank you for all those emoji bombs there, Charlie.
Yes. Yep.
And shout out to Tom making his reappearance here on the channel.
No.
Glad y'all were glad to see him return.
Yeah, it was nice to chat with everybody. And keep the discussion going.
Yeah. So. Well, we'll catch you guys on the flip side. But until then, I hope everybody, happy Friday. For some of you, it's actually probably already it's Saturday for most people. So happy weekend, everybody. We'll see you guys again several times throughout the course of it. But until then, have a great rest of your day, night, morning, evening, 3 a.m., wherever it is for you. Thank you for hanging out. And we will see you guys again very, very soon. Any last words?
Yes.
You always have some sort of final remark.
I don't think I do.
Neil, if you're watching, you're paying for my therapy bill. And on that note, good night, friends. Love you guys. Bye, everybody.